Hello, my name is Dr. Daniel Miola, and I have the privilege and honor of journeying with you in these days leading up to Easter by giving you this parish mission on life-giving wounds, the grace of redemptive suffering. In consultation with your pastor, Monsignor Perry, and your DRE, Melanie Baker, it was decided that it would be best if we offered this parish mission early instead of in May, and to do it remotely here at my home. This is my office / pantry / now video studio for you all. Because we're doing this because we believe that this message that we're going to be talking about is needed now more than ever because of the great suffering we're facing due to the coronavirus. So please allow me now to introduce myself before we get into the topic at hand. As I mentioned, my name is Dr. Daniel Miola. I have a PhD in theology from the John Paul II Institute for Studies of Marriage and Family in Washington, D.C. Prior to that, I received a BA in theology and a minor in philosophy from the Catholic University of America. So I've been in the D.C., Maryland area for quite some time. I currently work at the St. John Paul II National Shrine doing catechesis and evangelization. And I've been married almost 9 years to my lovely wife, Bethany. And we have two young daughters, Zelly, who's almost 3, and Grace, who just turned 6 months. One of the greatest things my wife and I have done over the years is we founded a ministry called Life-Giving Wounds. It's a healing ministry dedicated to healing adult children of divorce or separation. We've been doing it for the last 5 years in Washington, D.C., and it's now spread across the country. But what we've realized in accompanying people in these situations is that the things that we teach, the things that we do, are things that are necessary for the whole church. The whole church needs to learn how to turn its suffering into life-giving wounds now more than ever. And your pastor, Monsignor Perry, and Melanie Baker, your DRE, has agreed to do this parish mission on this topic early. So our topic is life-giving wounds, the grace of redemptive suffering. Let's talk a minute about the suffering we're facing. It's an unprecedented level of suffering that we've ever faced in our lifetime, really, for this coronavirus pandemic. We know, first of all, that there's a lot of family strife out there right now. And to families, I want this series to be a word of hope to you. We know routines have been upheaved. You now have to figure out how to homeschool. You have to figure out how to work from home. These are all difficult on top of now you're isolated more. You're disconnected from the community. We know some of you are facing financial uncertainty. Some of you have lost a job. There's a lot of fear out there about the sickness. Maybe you know somebody who's already in the hospital. I have a good friend's parents who are both in the hospital on ventilators, and they can't be with them. All these things are creating a great suffering. And also, in addition to that, at the time in which we need it the most, we don't have access to that precious, beautiful gift of the Eucharist, which causes its own suffering. I'm very aware of. And I'm also aware that this suffering, anytime there's suffering or crises like that, it brings to light, it sheds a big light on other suffering that we might have had in our family. So if you already had family divisions and problems, this probably has exasperated them. So there's those wounds too. How can we handle all this, Lord? First thing I want to say is maybe it's a great grace that this crisis exists because it shines that light on wounds that have already been there for a while. It's bringing them to life because God wants them to be healed. God doesn't just want to heal us from this pandemic, but to use this time to heal all those wounds in our family and our communities as much as possible. You might be asking, why all this suffering, Lord? And that's a great question we're going to address. But let me just say at the outset that He has not abandoned us. He is with us. He is calling all of us to life-giving wounds. Turn our suffering into life-giving wounds. If these words sound kind of weird to you, life-giving wounds, just remember that this is the Easter logic. It was through Christ's cross, not around it, not away from it, but through Christ's cross, through His suffering, that life came into the world in the resurrection. This is the Easter logic. Life-giving wounds is the Easter logic. No, rather, it's the Easter miracle of turning what was death into life. And he wants to do this in your life as well. And we're going to talk about that so that you can experience Easter anew. We've developed 7 videos on 3 separate topics that talk about how you can transform your current suffering into life-giving wounds for yourself, your family, and for the world. The 3 topics, one will just be on what is life-giving suffering. We'll have 3 videos on that to go into what is redemptive suffering, grieving, and how to turn our wounds into resources. Then we'll have 2 videos on life-giving forgiveness and 2 videos on life-giving love. But we can't get to forgiveness and love unless we have the right attitude and approach to suffering. So we've got to begin there because the church has such beautiful teachings to show us what is redemptive suffering. And they're not just teachings, right? When we encounter Christ, he teaches us how to live like this because he has first lived. He has first suffered and continues to suffer with us. But now, to make this series the most fruitful in your home, I want you to pause this video and I want you to think of some wounds you feel that the Lord is calling you to heal right now. List some wounds related to this coronavirus pandemic, but also please list some wounds from your family, from your marriage that are maybe coming up. So please pause this video, take a moment to pray, and write down what those wounds may be. And then we'll resume with prayer and our first meditation.
Call me to find you. You are waiting in the womb that I hide from